Imagine having a voice so powerful, so goosebump-inducing, that James Cameron literally uses it to sink the Titanic well, the movie version. That's Celine Dion for you. A legend, an icon, a national treasure wrapped in sparkly gowns and vocal cords of steel. But here's the thing. Behind the Vegas spotlights, the sold-out tours, and the heart-wrenching ballads, Celine's life has been anything but a fairy tale. Nope, her story reads more like a roller coaster built by a dramatic screenwriter on espresso. Buckle up, because we're diving into the greatest challenges Celine Dion has faced. The heartbreaks, the scandals, the bizarre twists that would make even her own songs jealous. Let's start at the very beginning. Celine Dion wasn't exactly a planned project. She was child number 14, yes, 14 in a family where money was tight and resources tighter. Beds? Forget about it. Baby Celine literally slept in a drawer. Imagine the world's future diva napping between spare socks. Talk about humble beginnings. But hey, when you're born into chaos, maybe belting your lungs out is the only logical way to rise above the noise. But if you think being an unexpected 14th child was dramatic, wait till you hear what almost happened next. At just 5 years old, Celine was hit by a truck. She spent a week in a coma with a fractured skull. Somehow, she survived and fully recovered because apparently destiny looked at her and said, nope, this kid is booked for greatness. And speaking of destiny, enter Rene Angelil, the man who would change everything. Her manager, her mentor, and eventually her husband. Romantic, right? Well, not to her mom. Madame Dion was not having it. She took one look at Rene divorced, kids, older, and basically said, absolutely not. This is not your Prince Charming. Celine, of course, did what every determined teenager in love does, ignored her mom completely. Spoiler alert, mom eventually came around, but only after realizing the two weren't just a fling, they were the real deal. Now, love stories make for great songs, but real life, not so smooth. In 1999, Rene was diagnosed with throat cancer. The world saw the glamorous superstar on stage, but behind the curtain, Celine was caring for a very sick husband while trying to keep her career alive. For years, her marriage became a battlefront: hospital visits, treatments, prayers. Imagine singing "Because You Love Me" every night while the man you love is fighting for his life. Brutal. But Celine doesn't quit. Not in music, not in love, and definitely not in family planning. After struggling to conceive, she turned to in vitro fertilization twice before finally giving birth to her son, Rene Charles, in 2001. That kid wasn't just a baby, he was a miracle, proof that Celine's resilience wasn't just in her voice, but in her entire being. Now, let's talk about a little song called "My Heart Will Go On." You know, the one that basically branded Titanic into pop culture forever? Yeah, funny story. Celine hated it. She thought it was boring, overdone, not worth her time. She literally didn't want to record it. Imagine Celine Dion saying meh to the song that went on to win an Oscar, a Grammy, and a permanent place in wedding playlists across the globe. The only reason it exists? Rene told her, just do a demo. That demo? The actual final cut. Talk about a husband with good instincts. But here's where it gets spicy. Not everyone loved Celine's English success. When she sang Beauty and the Beast and started topping English charts, some Quebec fans branded her a traitor. Harsh, right? Instead of basking in the glory, she had to publicly prove her pride in being French-Canadian. Imagine winning Grammys while being called a sellout at home. That's a level of emotional whiplash most of us can't even fathom. And the drama didn't stop there. The 90s threw another curveball: tabloids, specifically the National Enquirer, which published a flat-out lie about Celine having twins. Instead of letting it slide, she lawyered up suing them for $20 million. The magazine folded faster than a cheap deck chair, apologized, and donated money to cancer research. Moral of the story: don't mess with Celine Dion. But here's something you probably didn't expect. Celine isn't just a vocal powerhouse, she's a business shark. In 1990, she opened her own restaurant, Nichols, in Quebec. It blew up, expanded across Canada, and proved she wasn't just about hitting high notes, she could hit high profits too. Diva by night, entrepreneur by day. Of course, Celine's life wasn't all lawsuits and restaurant. Honors came rolling in. Stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the Canadian Walk of Fame, and even an honorary doctorate from Laval University. The girl who once slept in a drawer was now Dr. Dion. And how did she react? By dedicating it to Rene, calling it a great honor for a little girl from Charlemagne. Honestly, chills. But through all the glitter, there's been an undercurrent of pain. Rene's cancer eventually came back, and in 2016, she lost him. Her greatest supporter, her husband, her partner. It was the kind of loss that could break anyone. Yet, even in grief, Celine found a way to keep singing, keep moving, keep shining for her kids and her fans. So, what do we learn from this roller coaster of a life? That resilience isn't about never facing tragedy, it's about what you do when tragedy refuses to leave you alone. Celine Dion isn't just the voice of Titanic, she's the embodiment of survival, strength, and showing up on stage even when your heart is breaking backstage. And here's the kicker, she's still not done. Despite health challenges of her own, despite personal loss, despite critics and controversies, Celine remains unstoppable. She's living proof that even when life hits you with trucks, literally you can still come back stronger and sing louder. So, let me ask you this. What's the one Celine Dion moment that gave you chills, goosebumps, or straight up tears? Was it My Heart Will Go On, Because You Loved Me? Or maybe just the sheer audacity of a little girl from Charlemagne, Quebec, becoming a global queen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your favorite Celine story. And if you love diving into lives that are as dramatic as the songs they sing, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. Because trust me, our next story, it's going to hit harder than Celine's high notes at Caesar's Palace.